They ain't go like this one.
2 years ago, Vince McMahon retired from WWE, and there's been a debate on whether, we needed him back or if Triple H has been doing better and, Vince, lost his touch. I'll say Vince definitely did lose his touch towards the end. I feel like the last time WWE was really hot, in my opinion, where I loved everything about it, was like 2016, and then it kind of kept going downhill from there. But then WWE kind of like bounced back up under Triple H, and Triple H has been on fire. But there are a couple things under Triple H that I'm not really too fond of, which I made a video about that like it was 2 videos ago. So just click on that and you'll hear my opinions on that. But anyway, I'm here to talk about if Vince McMahon deserves to be erased from history or not. And here's my honest take on this. This is not like me trying to say his praises or anything, but you cannot erase Vince McMahon from WWE history. Vince McMahon and WWE are entwined together. That's like trying to erase God from the Bible or anything, This is, Vince McMahon's foundation that he built. His name is synonymous to WWE. He's done way too much for the company for anybody to not be able to bring him up. I understand trying to distance yourself a little bit, like, oh, well, we'll just not use his name, as much as often. But, when you think about some of the biggest stars in WWE history, who had a very important role in, almost all of their careers? Vince McMahon. Without John Cena, without Vince McMahon, there is no John Cena. Without Vince McMahon, there is no Rock. Without him, there is no Mankind, because he had a very pivotal part in all of their stories, especially with Stone Cold becoming the person that he became. Vince McMahon, that's, all over him. Triple H, It's like, this is crazy for anybody to think that you could actually erase Vince McMahon or try to put him on the back burner of anybody's stories. Like in the WWE 2K24, when they try to erase Vince McMahon, it's like, you can't. He's too important to this company for anybody to try to do anything like that. It's just stupid. I understand he's been accused of doing some very heinous things, but it's not really a good look. And, some people have this thing where they say, well, that's what he gets for what he did to Chris Benoit, trying to erase him after, I don't need to say what Chris Benoit did. I'm pretty sure we all know what he did. But yeah, even with Chris Benoit, you can't even erase him from WWE history. Who is the person that Randy Orton beat to become the youngest world heavyweight champion in WWE history? Chris Benoit. Okay, you know what I'm saying? Who won the 2004 Royal Rumble? Chris Benoit. Who's Eddie Guerrero's best friend? Chris Benoit. He was literally celebrating with him when they both held the WWE and the World Heavyweight Championship. So, that's a very important part in history, especially for Mexican wrestlers, for Eddie Guerrero to have become champion. And what are you going to do? You're going to erase all the footage of Chris Benoit there? So, no, don't even try it. That's stupid. We all know that he was there. You cannot erase anybody from history, especially when they have such a big impact on somebody's career. If you want to erase somebody from history, it would have to be somebody who's a jobber who didn't really do much in WWE and was probably there for maybe a year or so and got released. You know what I'm saying? Somebody like Curtis Axel, no offense to him, but I'm pretty sure he's kind of a pretty forgettable person. But anyway, Vince McMahon, he is just too important to WWE for anybody to try to get rid of him. You can't get rid of him. Stephanie McMahon is literally his daughter, you know what I mean? McMahon, his last name, Shane McMahon. Even though they don't work for the company anymore, you know what I mean? That name, like I said, is synonymous. When Stephanie came back at, the freaking WrestleMania, you know what I mean, to announce it at night 2, literally everybody was like, oh my God, that's so crazy, Vince, because this is the first WrestleMania that Vince McMahon, wasn't announcing and stuff. So this was a huge deal for WWE. It was like, dang, he's really gone. You know what I'm saying? What would we be without him? Because this man, even hate him or love him, you cannot deny that he brought wrestling to new heights. He has done things that a lot of people wouldn't be willing to, to do. He not only humiliated himself, but his family also put themselves, in really embarrassing situations. And, just for our entertainment, not even just embarrassment, but also dangerous stuff like that, too. Vince McMahon was taking a couple bumps at his old age, which was pretty scary. You know what I mean? This is the same man who literally fought his own daughter in a wrestling match. He fought God. This man was coming up with some crazy stuff for our entertainment. And I'm just like, he has such a very important part in my childhood that it's really crazy to think that, anybody could try to get rid of him just like that easily. It's going to take a lot to try to get rid of him. Even when he's gone, you know what I mean? We're still going to remember him. There's been talks about if he's going to be able to go into the Hall of Fame or not. And as much I know this is probably going to be like the most controversial take, but he definitely deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. Like, he is the reason why WWE is where it's at, like I said, right now. He had a monopoly, basically. He bought out all the competition. Look at what he accomplished. He literally bought out WCW. He brought out ECW. This man was literally, bringing the heat to everybody. He destroyed all of the competition. He made wrestling, what it is now. Everything that you see that's going on in wrestling, you know what I mean? He is like kind of the reason for it. He brought out that larger than life persona to give wrestling like such a big feel when it wasn't at its best, you know what I mean? The WCW Monday Night Wars and stuff, Even his dad, because he eventually inherited WWE after, he bought it from his dad and stuff. Like, this man, his whole life, he lived, sleep, breathed WWE and all of that. And everything that we see going on now is literally all his idea and his creation. So for anybody that thinks that this is a good idea is just wrong. Like, distance yourself all you want, but there's no way that anybody could ever forget the name Vincent Kennedy McMahon, especially, when it comes down to his ties with WWE. Cut his ties all you want, never mention his name again. But when you think of Stone Cold, when you're looking back at all of the greatest moments in WWE, he was a part of a lot of those very big moments. He was, you know what I mean? And I know that's kind of hard for people to accept. And don't get me wrong, you know what I mean? There were a lot of very horrible and embarrassing moments and very downright cruel moments that he was obviously a part of, and that was straight up, WWE at its worst and at its most ignorant and bigoted. But at the same time, you have to take the good with the bad. That's what I'm trying to get at. You can call him deplorable and condemn him for all of his actions, but you just can't get rid of him and, try to erase everything that he's worked hard for. This is his legacy. This is what he will be remembered for when he died, WWE. This is his baby. This is the place that he built. But like I said, obviously, his dad was the one who had owned the company and stuff like that first, and then he bought it for him. But his dad, owned WWF. WWE, this is all Vince right here. Everything that you see is all him. Triple H, do I think he's doing a good job? He's doing all right. But, obviously, Vince McMahon, he's not immortal. He's not going to live forever. So, eventually, it was going to be time for him to step down. I honestly do think that it was a good time for him to step down, maybe, a few years before the whole, lawsuit and allegations and stuff. So, I guess that is kind of a good thing that, he eventually found his way out. But I do think that it is kind of sad, that this whole thing had to happen for him to, have been accused of that stuff. And especially if he did it, screw him for doing any of those things that he was accused of doing. And they even tried to pull the same stint with Brock Lesnar. When Brock Lesnar got caught up in the whole Vince McMahon lawsuit thing, it's like, oh, well, we're just not going to mention him anymore. It's like, you're trying to erase Brock Lesnar from WWE with everything that he's accomplished, especially, you know what I mean, when Paul Heyman is going into the Hall of Fame. I love Roman Reigns. I'm one of Roman Reigns' biggest, and if not the biggest Roman Reigns fan, of all time. But he should not have been the one to induct Paul Heyman, into the Hall of Fame. The person that should have done it is Brock Lesnar. The same way Vince is synonymous with WWE, Brock Lesnar is synonymous with Paul Heyman and vice versa. When you think of Paul Heyman guy, who was the most accomplished Paul Heyman guy, you think of Brock Lesnar. And when you think of Brock Lesnar, who do you picture standing right next to him? Paul Heyman with the microphone. This is Brock Lesnar, the beast incarnate, hyping him up. We just can't afford to have people making moves like this because it just doesn't make any sense. That's basically all I gotta say. But yeah, make sure, leave a comment. What do you guys think? Does Vince deserve to be erased from history? Is it possible to erase him from history or erase anybody else from history? Because I do not think that it is. Because like I said, no matter what, we will always think of Vince McMahon. Vince McMahon is the first person that I think of when I hear the name WWE. And I know he's not a wrestler or anything, but like I said, this is his baby. The then, now, forever, that right there, that's Vince. Vince was WWE back then. He's WWE right now. He still gets talked about, and he will always be talked about forever. So, like I said, this is not a video trying to save this man's praises or anything, or gas him up or anything like that. I'm just saying that I just think that it's kind of crazy that anybody thinks that we could just forget about who he is because, the horrible stuff that he was accused of doing. We can't forget him. There's no possible way. Same with Chris Benoit. You can't forget who he is, even though he did that horrible thing to his family. You know what I mean? Nobody will ever forget how iconic his entrance music was, how great of a wrestler he was, how beloved he was backstage before he did what he did. But yeah, this is the end of the video. Make sure to leave a comment, like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. Tell your family, tell your friends about it. You know what I mean? Go follow us on Instagram, /podcast. Follow us on TikTok, /podcast. Follow us on YouTube, obviously, /podcast. And every platform, you know what I mean, that we're on. Help support the channel, get involved in the conversation. This is Jay from /podcast signing out. Peace out.